Hi, I'm Cindy Matalucci, and you're watching The Pulse Live with Cindy. Thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We have a phenomenal show. First of all, it's Friday, so it's a great day. We have cocktails, so it's all happening here. But I want to introduce my fabulous guests today. I have the guys from Snake Oil Cocktail Company. I have Michael Esposito, co-founder, director of business development.
Yep.
I have Frankie Theheld, who is partner director of culinary mixology. I'm so excited to have you guys. I am such a fan of your company. I've done events with you guys. I've enjoyed your cocktails. Before we start talking all things snake oil, I want to talk to the viewers a little bit about your story because I think it's very cool, and I want to find out how you came up with the concept for snake oil.
So we started the business 5 years ago, and at the time we had some former partners that people used to come into the bar, and they were looking for something to cure what ailed them, and the idea was to come up with some craft cocktails that were really unique.
That's so cool, and you guys are really about the experience and the brand. I mean, it's so amazing. So I want to know a little bit, I mean, I know what snake oil is. Talk to the viewers, tell them what snake oil is and what the experience is all about.
So for us, it's just about creating beverage experiences, about really thinking along the lines of what people at events would like to experience and how we can bring fresh produce and fresh cocktails into different situations and scenarios.
Well, yeah, because you guys do a lot more than just that. I mean, you guys do events, you do bar consulting, like brand work. I mean, dive into a little bit about what you're doing.
Sure. I think we also, we along with all those things, we're bringing a higher level of service than you'd get from a typical catering company or something like that, because all of our bartenders are well trained in the arts that we're doing. When we do consulting work with bars and restaurants, with brands, so tequila brands, vodka brands, those kind of things, create cocktails for them. Michael, you want to elaborate?
Yeah, so what we'll do with the bars and restaurants is essentially design their cocktail programs and help train all of their staff on how to serve the cocktails and what goes into each of the drinks and that kind of thing, and then help bring a sense of awareness of fresh ingredients to them.
When you're elevating the cocktail experience, which I love. That's my word of the week is elevate, so I had to use it today. So I'm using it. I went to the website and it says elevate. I love that. So you're elevating it one cocktail at a time. I love that. So one question that I had for you, I think it's so cool, snake oil, that you came up with the name snake oil for the company. How did that happen?
Oh,
it's basically it's an ode to the days of the medicine show and the snake oil salesman, and the idea that the snake oil salesman was giving you something that was a cure-all. But there was always a mystery as to what was in the bottle. And if you'll notice, we have our signature mixes always come in bottles, and so it kind of has that same tagline, what's in the bottle? But it all goes back to an ode to those medicine show days and the original snake oil salesman.
I love that. It's so fun. So you guys have worked with some incredible brands. I know like TEDx, Aston Martin. I know you've done Sundance Film Festival. I mean, you've done so much. What would you say in the last 5 years is a memorable or maybe a most gratifying experience that you've had?
Well, I'd say we did a really unique experience for TED Active, which is in Palm Springs, and that experience involved all different types of fresh produce and fresh ingredients that people would then create their own cocktail experience with it. So we had about 400 people at the bar, and everybody was given a little chart where they could chart out their flavor preferences, and then the mixologists on site, we created that cocktail experience for them so that everybody got something unique. And it was a 3-day event, so every time they went back to the bar, it was a totally different experience. And we did that with the Lincoln Automotive Group, and it was really a fantastic way for people to experience different cultures, different cocktails. They had people from all over the world coming, so we had some of these ingredients such as yuzu fruit and things like that people weren't necessarily familiar with, and so there was an educational component to it as well. And really,
so it's
just
personalized.
Yeah.
You really craft it to what you're doing.
I believe we made about 1,200 unique cocktails.
Oh my God, that's a
That
lot
would be
of
my
cocktails.
approximation for the weekend, and that was pretty intense.
So, wow, that's amazing. So when you guys do something like that, I mean, what's the process like for you? I mean, how long does it take to come up with something like that?
Well, you've got the design element first, which is that forethought that goes into figuring out a bunch of ingredients that are going to semi-work together in almost any combination, which that takes a lot of forethinking and a lot of experience. And then when we get behind the bar, the idea is balancing it. It's thinking about the acidity levels of the citrus and the sweetness levels of your choice of sweetener, whether it's honey, agave, sugar, whatever the case is, and how it balances with the liquor that you're introducing. Maybe some herbs that go perfectly well with certain spices and learning how to combine that. So they gave you a slight roadmap, and you got to take them the rest of the way.
And Cindy, actually, one of the things that's really interesting about our company is because we do so many events, we do about 500 events a year, is that we're constantly in different scenarios with different demographics. So when we manage the food and beverage program at the San Diego Symphony, and one of the things that happens there is essentially you have a whole group of people coming in that are coming for a particular type of show. And so for one performance, they might get one type of experience. For the next performance, it might be a different experience. So very different from more traditional cocktail bars, where the one thing that you know at most bars is that everyone in the audience or everyone in the bar is at least within a 10-year spread where they're 5 years younger than you or 5 years older than you. But at something like the Symphony and some of these events that we do, it's a totally different demographic. So for one night, we might have Ben Harper playing on stage, and so the demographic might be median age of around 30. And then the next night, same location and just a totally different audience
So you
that
have
comes
to
in.
cater to a different
Right,
audience.
so then for that one, so they might be doing a Mozart or Beethoven performance. Well, obviously not Beethoven. It's a little past his prime, but it would be a performance of the San Diego Symphony. And so what winds up happening in that scenario is you might have an older demographic and everything is completely different. So that experience, you really have a median age difference of about 30 to 40 years, which is something that really differentiates us in terms of our ability to work with different kinds of clientele. So it's really fun.
Well, and you guys, I was going to ask you that. You are in some venues here in San Diego. San Diego Symphony obviously being one, and there's other places that you guys are in with your signature cocktails.
The Symphony would be one that's where we actually manage the food and beverage program. Outside of that, for consulting, we have live menus at such restaurants as Tidal at Paradise Point in Mission Bay. Bottega Americano hosts a lovely menu. We're working with the Hard Rock Hotel, doing both the 207 and the float bar upstairs. And we're venturing into Mexico as well. We're fantastic new place down there called Oryx Capital.
Okay.
And Tobu is a sushi restaurant down there that we do as well. We're with a smattering of places across the country and in other countries as well.
Actually, there's one program that we did that was really exciting. We did a cocktail program in Bogota, Colombia, and so for that program, they were looking for a 1980s Tron-themed bar. So everything was
that's
basically
particular.
lit up, and the cocktails were really unique. There was a lot of LED component to it, and it was a kind of an homage to 80s culture, and so really fun from that perspective. But what was unique was that they were taking a company from San Diego and bringing us down basically to the rainforest, and we were working with fruit that you just will never have seen in San Diego. So we had things such as Lulu fruit, which is a kind of, it looks almost like an orange, but it's a little fuzzy on the outside, kind of like a peach. But the interior of it, when you bite into it, tastes like a pineapple and looks like a jalapeno. So it was really kind of like mixed up fruit that you normally would never see.
I'm dying to try it
Pepino
now.
melon, melocotón, some of these other
really exciting stuff.
Very unique
that's
things.
great.
The amazing thing about that, the first day we arrived, our host took us to the farmer's market and spread his hands and said, this is your wonderland. Have fun, pick anything you want. And boy, did we.
What a fun job. I love that. Well, okay, so this is the fun part of the show. We get to talk about the cocktail because, what we were saying, cocktail design, you guys have it on lock. You guys, I don't know anyone that creates cocktails like you do. I love the Cobra Venom. I've had that. You guys make the most amazing cocktails, and it's so fresh,
Thank
which
you.
is, farm fresh. So you're going to make something today, or you're going to at least show us some of your signature cocktails today.
Right, I'm going to show you a couple things that actually come from our spring menu right now. So we're launching headlong into spring. It's wedding season, gala season. So we want everything to be bright, full of flavor, herbaceous. So we made a couple different cocktails that we'd like to share.
Ooh.
So if I can start with
And
one.
it's never too early for a cocktail, and it's Friday, so it's okay.
This first cocktail I'm going to make is called a Strawberry Fields. It's one of our most popular cocktails.
Wow.
Of course, it's fresh strawberry. We make an almond orgeat to go along with that, a touch of mint and lemon. It's very fresh and vibrant. We'll put a little, use some vodka
Named
today.
after the Beatles.
Cheers. We got a little rock and roll in our life. So, and then we have one thing that's unique, I think, about what we do is we bring our mixes pre-made. So rather than you standing in line waiting for somebody to muddle and shake everything, which at an event can really time consuming. You can see long
And
lines.
people get frustrated when they want their cocktails.
Right. So we have done all the magic in the kitchen, and we bring it with us.
Oh, that's great. So you bring it on site like that. There's no wait. You're mixing it up.
Right.
So
Yes.
go ahead. And so fresh. I mean, like, what are you putting as far as like garnishes?
So that's where you can see all these lovely bits of fresh produce up on top. This does have some mint in it, and so for striking color, I always like to add a little bit of mint, and you get a little nice flavor from that as well. Just perk that up a little bit.
I know the
And that's our
studio
Strawberry
smells so
Fields
good with all the
cocktail.
fresh produce that they brought in today. It smells so
You want
yummy.
to try this one before I make the other one?
Yeah, please.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you. Cheers.
And then the next cocktail I'm going to make
That is good.
is our Spring
very
Fling.
refreshing.
This one's really fun. So one thing we like to do that's a little different, fruit's kind of predictable in cocktails. Vegetables aren't. And that's where we like to take things kind of to a different situation. So we actually have a cocktail called the Spring Fling. This is a gin-based cocktail we're going to make. This actually has spring snap peas in it,
Okay.
along with a
Wow.
little bit of lime, and we've got some fresh rosemary and mint in here as well.
Where do you get this inspiration? Where does this come from? Because I would never think snap
We,
peas. I mean, how do you come up with this?
We work a lot with a company called Specialty Produce in San Diego, and so they have a catalog of 10,000 different types of unique fruits and vegetables and things like that. And so with the background of the company, I mean, we started with restaurants in La Jolla and also with Brian Malarkey's restaurants. They're very chef-centered. And so our philosophy has always been culinary based, where, you know, pretty much all of our cocktails, you could take the alcohol out of it and still have a viable drink. So
Wow.
that's been like really fun, but it's all been produce forward, and so that's kind of like where most of the inspiration comes, is looking at the garden and looking at fresh produce and different types of
This might get loud for a moment.
Shaking it up.
We've had the pleasure of working with some fantastic restaurants that actually have their own farms, either on site or nearby.
Okay.
And it's really neat to have really that garden to glass concept when you actually go and pick the herbs or the vegetables, bring them to the restaurant, and then make them. You're really pulling from the ground and putting in the glass, which
That's
is
why their
pretty
cocktails are
epic.
so good.
You can taste the freshness. You can taste.
Well, it's so creative. I mean, that's the
spring.
thing. You never see cocktails like what you guys make, which I love. Very, very unique.
Yeah, I should have just done it in one, been a champ. Let's just go ahead and go that way with it. Cheers.
I'm the only one drinking apparently
Okay.
today. And
And then I'm going to add,
gonna
so
go-
since we've
okay.
got some beautiful fresh herbs in here, we've already got
Yeah.
rosemary and mint, I'm going to accent that with a little basil blossom. So a nice color contrast
Ooh,
with the
that's
purple and
pretty.
green. And lots of fresh herbs going on. This is spring in a glass right here. Do you want to try?
it smells so good. Yes, I'd
Please.
love to. Thank you. Perfect. That is really good. And that's
Awesome.
gin.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, it's so good. It's so refreshing. Yum. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, although I don't want the cocktails to end, this is the fun part. Talk to us a little bit. I always like to ask my guests, you guys are such amazing entrepreneurs and you have really created a brand. I mean, you started out in 2010. I think you've doubled, tripled your numbers. I mean, you guys are so great at what you do. So what I want to do is find out, you know, if somebody's watching and they're an entrepreneur and let's say they're starting out, or let's say they want to take their brand to the next level, what kind of advice would you give?
Well, I mean, I would say, you know, it's kind of funny with snake oil. When we started, we would talk to people in different businesses, and you know, we'd meet people on airplanes, and you know, I'd be like, "What do you do?" And it's like, "Well, we're a cocktail consultancy," and they'd be like, "What's that?" You know, and like, nobody had a kind of clue what that was, and so that kind of conversation was a difficult conversation in the beginning. But now it's like there are mixologists all over the place. You know, people now go into bars knowing that there's mixology culture, that there are, you know, mixologists that are the next, you know, chef celebrities, you know, in some level. And so it's like, you know, everybody's had a show on the celebrity chef side, and now I think they're really, the focus is on mixology. And so that side of it, and seeing the trend shift, it's like really to just be patient along those lines and know that, you know, if you're onto something good, that, you know, the trends will eventually catch up. And so that, you know, that would be like my main kind of piece of advice for it, because you know, it is hard in the beginning when you're starting with something that's brand new, but as it goes, we've been really fortunate to be able to grow the business.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember like when I started the Pulse, nobody knew who we were, what our concept was, and it was like, what? You know, they didn't get it. But if you're authentic and it's your purpose and your passion and you believe in it, you just got to stick with it, and then it comes around. And if you have a good product, and which you guys do,
Totally.
it's amazing.
Thank you. And then, you know, like, you know, even 5 or 6 years ago, if you went into Pacific Beach, it's a town in San Diego, right? You go into Pacific Beach 5 years ago, people would have said it would have been impossible to have people having craft cocktails in a place like Pacific Beach. But now it's like you can't go into a bar without a craft cocktail scene because the change has been so monumental. And I think that those are those things is like, when you see it and you know that you're onto something, to just like kind of stick with that. And to see that kind of rise is very cool. It's like gratifying, even though we're probably not doing that many cocktails in Pacific Beach. It's just good to see that, people do, they expect a higher caliber of drinks. We've elevated the craft for San Diego in general. We've, done our part, and other companies like ours have really helped elevate and put San Diego on the map for the cocktail scene.
Well, and where do you guys see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go? Is there anything that you sort of want to tackle that you haven't yet?
Ooh, that's a fun question.
So we're we're looking at coming out with some product lines, and then also we're experimenting with different venues. Right now we work with a lot of venues, but there's always the possibility that we may pop into something that would be our own kind of unique creation.
Ooh, I love that. And we'll be there to cover it. You heard it here first on The Pulse. So tell everybody, if they want to hire you for brand consulting, for bar consulting, for an event, where do they go?
So you can go to our website, which is snakeoilcocktail.com, and then from there we have actually 5 different people that are working with us on sales. They're really fantastic. The website or the email address from there is just events@snakeoilcocktail.com. And then from the consulting side, there's a link on our website to get to restaurant consulting, and Frankie or I will get back.
And we have a link on our site too, so snakeoilcocktail.com. You got to check these guys out. So before we leave, I want to do something fun. I want to play a game.
Okay.
Oh.
So I want to do rapid fire questions. So this is something that I like to do with my guests. You can't think too much about it. You can't cheat. You have to say the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, so rapid fire. Here we go. Best cocktail to have when you're hungover, hair of the dog?
Bloody Mary.
Just a gin and tonic.
What's your poison, the drink that you cannot live without?
For me, it's rum.
I really like scotch.
Ooh, scotch. I like scotch. If you could have only one garnish in your drink for the rest of your life, what would it be?
A lemon twist.
I really like that basil flower over there.
I'm leaving it. I'm taking this home. It smells so good. It's coming home with me today. Shaken or stirred?
I'm more into the stirred cocktails, personally.
I'm definitely into the shaken cocktails. So
I'm a shaken.
Works.
I like the shaken. And then kind of different. Favorite movie?
Valley Girl.
I love it.
2001: Space Odyssey.
You seem so much deeper than me, huh?
I know, you guys. Well, this has been so fun. Thank you guys so much for coming on today. We
Thank
had
you.
such a great time. I love everything about you guys. Check out Snake Oil Cocktail, and we'll see you next time on The Pulse. Thanks.
Cheers.
I'm going to drink now. I was looking for my drink. I was looking.
A little showtime.
It's never too early. Oh, no, you have to put it up there. How do we do?
We clear?
Are we still on?
Are we okay?
Do I have to uncomfortably laugh more?
I know, right?